My name is Lillie Mae Rome Preston Jaco. I'm the eldest child of Reverend Guy and Lillie Rome. And when you called and we were talking about, I was humbled to present my memories of my father's ministry and New Life's history as best I could and keep it short. I'm thrilled to see how God has taken dreams and visions and turned them into realities. My earliest memories of the church began at 6440 Suburban Avenue, which was our home and the first location of the church. As a young child, services were held there, and we looked at that as an exciting time. We grew up with that. Later, after several of us had received the Holy Ghost, it was decided that we would go down to 13th and Gravel to what was known Apostolic Pentecostal Church at that time. And Brother Randing was the pastor. And as the church grew, our little church, there was no other churches in that area. I think we had about 75 to 100 in the church, in the home. And it got really crowded. And we started looking for property and a place to have a church, and found one that was just 2 or 3 blocks from us, a little white church, a frame church, and were able to move in there. Attendance continued to grow until it was obvious larger that we needed more facilities, that there was much more people, and so we started looking for a place to hold services. And a large brick building was built next door to the first building, and the original was demolished because it was real small, and they took that property and made it into a parking lot, which was very helpful, especially since we were in a corner lot. And in time, 2 Sunday morning services were needed to accommodate the crowds of people. And so we were having church like Sunday and Wednesday and Friday, 2 Sunday schools on Sunday and Sunday night. So, it was a busy time. Land was purchased on Mark Twain Lane, where the New Life Center is now, located here in Bridgeton. Once the contractors got the building far enough along, the church made good help. A group of volunteers, including the pastor, tirelessly worked daily on the building. It was so exciting for all of us. Scary at the same time, because when they put those top arches together with the big cable and whatever that is, it was exciting, but we were all like, oh my, our men did that. It was quite an undertaking. God provided funds as we went along. There were many testimonies about how God supplied the needs, praying for money, and then the next thing you know, that would happen. And during this time, I might say from the home on, we saw healings regularly, blinded eyes, deaf ears, all these things I've seen with my own life and in my time. And God just strengthens you as you go and makes it such beautiful memories. I can't imagine life without knowing God. When the basement was completed at Bridgeton, where New Life is now, we started having services there, and that was exciting even. We had church down where the little fellowship hall is in the basement. And then gradually, the upstairs was finished in the sanctuary, and then of course we were happy to be able to come up here. And they gave us an opportunity for the same men, different groups at different times, to finish the work of the building, and then a lot of Sunday school classes and things were ready to go. And once we were in, they just grew regularly, And the congregation felt like we were finally at home, even though the building was so large that it was a little overpowering at first. It was exciting at the same time. And everybody worked together to finish it. Brother Rome led the church into the development of Bridgeton Daycare because he had such a deep love, not for just the people of the church or in the community, but he always had a deep love for children. And many times he often said, children are the church of tomorrow. And everybody remembers him saying that quite often, and always looking for ways to expand and teach the children, and let them be a part of the church. He included them in the church's ministry many times. More than a babysitting service, he envisions a teaching program which could help prepare children for the school years and beyond. He sought assistance from Brother and Sister J.O. Wallace, who had moved to St. Louis from Nashville, Tennessee, where they had a daycare in conjunction with Peabody University. Sister Wallace became the official advisor because in Missouri it was considered a pilot project. There were none. There wasn't anyone to go talk to or see what could be done. But he had such a strong vision for it. I truly believe he sent Brother and Sister Wallace to help us establish, because they came to work at headquarters. And while they was here, she shared, and I guess as he was talking about it, that she could help with that and would be happy to be whatever she was needed to be. And after months of preparation and acquiring a license from the state of Missouri, the daycare was opened in the fiscal year of 1969-70. Sister Roll was the cook, and I taught the children. We had to attend the first day. And like everything else in the work of God, he doesn't say, are you qualified? I didn't have a doctorate degree. I wasn't. But all of our life, if you were asked to do something, we were taught, step in, do what you can, when you can, and God can use you, no matter who you are or what. Because if he has a work for you, just all through the Bible we could see that. How when God calls you, just be ready and do whatever you can. If that was, sister, I need you tonight to do this. I need you to fill in there. I need you to do that, And my sister and I both then at different times, we always had a piano in the home. He would say, I need you to play tonight. I need you, and you just did whatever. And then the Lord would always bring someone that could really fill that need. Well, we received the licensing, and we opened the daycare, and God bless, pretty soon we had 2-, 3-, and 4-year-old classes and a waiting list. You know what it is nowadays. It's just a blessing. I'm thrilled and excited to see my eldest granddaughter and her husband as pastor of this church, and I wanted them to know that. Like I said, I lived away from here 21 years, and I'm not here regularly with the services, but I am in church. I am where God put me again. I'm thrilled and excited to see that, and they're carrying on the spirit of the founder, who was Jaco, my father. And it's also very exciting to me. I just can't tell you how much, because I wanted to write pages and pages of what God has done, but I'd like to share that never has he failed us, never will he fail you. The way ahead is clear, and the Holy Ghost wind is at your back, so carry on the vision, New Life Center. Love it. And my earliest memories, I was probably about 5 when we started having church in the home. And a lot of friends of mine have asked this all through the years. Daddy was so busy. Our life was the church. Everything we did. So I never knew any different. Like we had church in the home, then we had church outside of the home. And my dad was a very personable father. He always made time for his family and loved his family dearly. And as children, the different things that I remember is we didn't have material things, but we had a loving mother and dad. And they really took care of us, spent time with us. My dad even thought it was fun to wash the girls' hair. So we had a really close family. My mother was a very strong lady, even though she preferred to stay in the background. And she and Daddy were very close. She saw the family had some type of breakfast every morning. She was a stay-at-home mother. And she was back daddy and whatever he said. In fact, I remember her saying sometimes, I was trying to think one of the incidents. Oh, I think they were taking a big offering for, and, Daddy, he always did whatever he wanted to do and talked to her later when God spoke to him. But he was sharing it, and she said, well, I don't know where it's going to come from, but if you said the Lord said we're to do it, that's what we're to do. That was her nature. And then anything he did, she was right there backing him up. And you know how you hear some people say there's criticism in the church or talking about other. I never heard any of that. Mom and Dad loved the church, and many times they said the church was their family because that is the way they felt. And now my mom, when you were talking about her, yes, when we were small and we had missionaries or someone to come and preach or whatever, Mom always cooked meals, took time for them. And then when we got in the brick church, one of the things they did behind the platform was a little apartment. And they had a bedroom and a little kitchenette, even back then, where the minister and his wife or family or whatever. And there was a lot of them that did come and hold revivals, like Brother Gene Denny and Carl and Ola Denny. A lot of people like that came through. And they could stay there and have room there. And then my mother fixed meals for them. She was always right there and whatever was needed, and did whatever she cooked. Man, I don't know if it was in my these notes or not, but one of them, when I mentioned my mom, when we first opened what is now the preschool, and, they changed the name to New Life Center because people would call here and ask for Christian daycare or the church, and whoever was in the office is like, it's all these things. So that's how they came up with New Life Center. It's a name that would answer, and it brought it all together, Yeah. And so it was, and her being the type of person she was, to get the preschool going, she said, well, I'll do whatever, I'll cook. And so Sister Wallace and I did, like the office work and parent orientations and whatever. And my mother cooked. Ladies volunteered, to bring in food and help. And everybody just worked together beautifully to see that it all came together. And a lot of that was because of my mother. Mother and Dad had moved to St. Louis when I was about 2. I was born in Waynesville, Missouri, because I had double pneumonia and whooping cough, and they had to bring me to St. Louis to children. Well, as it turned out, they ended up staying, and Dad went to work for public service on the diesel buses. So it was during that time that they started going to Brother Ben Pemberton's church. That was a big church here in St. Louis. And started looking for a church in our community, and there were none. But there was a couple of neighbors that wanted to ask if they could meet and have prayer at our home. And so we did that for some time, and actually we were still having prayer at our home, and they had asked Dad to do whatever he could to help with that, and he started holding services for that reason, because there were no Pentecostal churches unless you drove down to 13th and Gravois, which was more than most people could do at that time, and a lot of people didn't even have cars. So that's how it started. And then I understand he got his license in 1948. And he had already been evangelizing and doing everything he could. And so that's when, apparently, me being that young, I didn't remember all those details, but about that time is when then they decided they'd find a building, and they'd ask him to hold services till they could do what they did, and then eventually he was voted in as pastor. So it did start that way. There's no limit. when I think about growing up and having church in our home, and getting to be a part of that and see how God worked, needs were supplied, and just to be real outspoken about it. A lot of people can't relate to this, but my father's prayed for coal to burn for the home, to heat it. There were times when we didn't know where anything was coming from. Many Christmases we had hot chocolate, marshmallows, stuff like that, and never thought a thing about it. It wasn't until these stories were told later that I realized. But you know what? When you're raised in a home with love and everyone loves the Lord, it's a beautiful life. You don't think, you don't know any different, and it doesn't mean anything to you. Nowadays, everything seems to be material minded, and I wouldn't want to come up nowadays because I see it happening, and I hope and pray that it'll always be a spiritual church. Hungry souls coming in and being saved, like those that they don't even think about. Something happens, or they are reminded, they see something that makes, those people love the Lord. I want to learn more about them. And this is a strong church. Otherwise, these areas wouldn't have been filled like they are. And God has blessed, and I pray that He would continuously bless. The church would grow. And when Jesus comes back to welcome us all to His kingdom, that He could say, well, good to His servants. That would be my heart's desire.